Hello everyone, my name is Julie. Thank you so much for watching, and this video was suggested by you all. So, someone asked me what it was like living in Germany, and I thought that was a very fun idea. I actually wrote some notes, so if you see me look down, I just want to make sure I covered everything. And let's start at the beginning. So, I moved to Germany in June. I'm originally from the United States, and I moved here because of my husband's work. And I was really excited when I heard that we were going to live in Europe, probably 6, 7, 8 months before we arrived, and I was thrilled. And you probably saw in the videos that I first started filming, because I started filming in January, I started trying to project pan things, so I wanted to use it and refine my collection so I didn't have to move it. I was really scared about things breaking. On a note for that, just so you know, nothing did break, which I think is really nice. I did not have any issue with the movers. I must admit, I wrapped my makeup myself. I packed it. I used bubble wrap. I also used my underwear. So I wrapped my palettes, which sit over there, in bubble wrap, and then all of my other makeup I wrapped in my underwear. I did lose some makeup. I cannot find my lip liners or my eyeliners, which makes me think I put them all in one place. I can tell you they're not in my underwear drawer. But nothing came broken, and I was really surprised about that. I was really nervous about it, so I wrapped everything in bubble wrap, and then I put it in a bin. So I put it in like a birch box, and then I put it in a big plastic bin, and then I taped the bin shut, and then I wrapped the bin again in like wrapping paper. So like brown wrapping paper, not like Christmas wrapping paper. And it made it without any issues, which I thought was fantastic. Okay, so then we flew into Germany. We had to live in a hotel before we were able to get our house. And that was actually quite a blessing in disguise because our car had not arrived yet. We also shipped a car over, one car, and then I bought a car here in Germany, which was a very interesting adventure because it's not like shopping for a car. In the United States, it's different. It's a little bit harder to get a car over here if you're not used to the language and things like that. But that's a whole nother story for another day. So when we first arrived, my husband obviously didn't have to go to work because we were still adjusting to the time change, and we were, getting used to the community. We couldn't buy food or go to the grocery store because it was just a hotel, but we ate out a lot. But because we were eating out a lot and my husband didn't have to go to work, we did a lot of exploring. Now, I had been to Europe previously, Europe, not Germany. I had been to France and England. I've been lucky enough to go to Hungary and the Czech Republic previously, so I was very familiar with how trains worked in Europe. And I'm going to tell you right now, Germany has spectacular public transportation. Absolutely spectacular. It's not like the United States, where things sometimes go awry, sometimes they arrive late, sometimes they arrive early. The German trains, buses, undergrounds, they are all right on time. I liken it very similar to New York City's subway. If you're familiar with Manhattan, you know that as long as you know where the routes are and you know the numbers and the colors, you can get to where you need to go. In Germany, it's the exact same way, and it's really nice. I don't exactly know how it works, but they have one company, it seems like, that kind of covers most transportation here. It's DB, I don't know what that stands for, but they have an app which is absolutely fantastic. You just download the app, you put in where you're starting, you're putting in where you want to go, and it tells you how to get there. And it goes from based on time, day, it's fantastic. And so we just started traveling immediately. In the area we live in, there's lots of castles and history, so I started learning a lot. I think something I learned is that an American, you don't learn German history. When you talk about world history, you're not really talking about German history a lot of the times. Yes, you talk about the Austrian-Hungarian Empire, but really in context of World War I. And there's so much more history here that I am learning and loving. So one thing I learned, this might shock you. I didn't know Romans had settlements in Germany. In southern Germany, Romans lived here. Like, they lived here for years. Now, I knew that they fought what they call the barbarians, in a very grotesque term. That's what they used. And the Gauls, I think they're called. And I only know this because of movies like Gladiator, right? They fight the Germans in the very beginning of the Gladiator movie. And it just never occurred to me that they stayed. I don't know. I don't know a lot about Roman history, and I thought that was so cool. Because when you go to school in America and you're learning history, you really learn an American-centric history, world history. Like, what I learned about Germany beforehand is from World War I to the present. I know their actions in World War I. Of course, I know their actions in World War II. That's a huge emphasis in American history, and like the History Channel and the Discovery Channel in the United States. So that was really interesting. The way the Germans address that history is really interesting, which, if you are in public, it's not really talked about, but they're not, there are a lot of memorials to the Holocaust. And so I think that is really interesting. If you don't know, I studied history in college. I studied American history in college. I focused on maritime history. And I'm really enjoying learning a different type of history and seeing it from a different perspective, because I think a lot of history is based on perspective. That's kind of always what I thought and what I learned in school. History is written by the oppressors normally. It's normally written by the people who won whatever conflict it was, whether it was a cultural conflict, a political conflict, a spiritual conflict, anything like that. The people who got to write the histories were the people who won that conflict. So how did I get on this topic? Oh, travel. Okay. So I've really enjoyed taking the train everywhere. It's really inexpensive, and they always have, like, if you're in a region, there are all these regional passes. So you can always get like a cheap pass for the day to travel around. So I think that's fantastic. I've also been able to travel to other countries really easily. So, like, for example, I went back to the Czech Republic. I took a bus that was like stupid cheap. And it had Wi-Fi, it had a bathroom on board, it had vending machines on board. You could charge your phone. It was the most luxurious, it's the most luxurious bus I had ever been on. It's not, Greyhound has something to learn from German buses. Like, I don't know if, actually I've never been on a Greyhound bus. Maybe they're really nice, I don't know. But like, German buses were fantastic. The trains are super clean. What I like about trains and buses, this is gonna sound really weird, but there's a bathroom on board, like flushing bathrooms. They're like airplane bathrooms. And it's really nice because if you're going on, say, a 3-hour trip, you can just use the bathroom whenever you need to instead of stopping. 3 hours for me is like the time where, like, should you stop or should you just like push through? And I just really appreciate that I can just go to the bathroom whenever I need to, and not worry about being in a car and worrying about, well, like, what if traffic's up ahead and everything like that. Now, a note on car traffic, the Autobahn. Yes, it really does not have a speed limit, but it has a suggested speed limit, which I learned. I must admit, my husband loves the Autobahn. It scares me a little bit. He just goes. Like, when we're driving, he just hits that thing and is like, and like, off he goes. Me, I more tend towards the suggested speed limit, and probably because I have a smaller car, I bought an Italian car when I got here. It's kind of like a beater. I don't know how long we're going to be here for, so, I mean, I know it's going to be for a few years, but I don't know exactly, like, when, it kind of depends on what his company offers him, if to stay. We'd like to stay. We're having a really good time now that I've kind of gotten over some of the culture shock bits, but I'll get to that in a second. So the Autobahn is fun. It really does work very nicely. Now, the one downside of the Autobahn it goes where you want to go, but there's a lot of traffic and there is a lot of construction. Now, I don't know if that's just because of the summer. You know, back in the States, sometimes you have like construction season and then you've got winter on the roads. It seems to be the same here in Germany. I was in a traffic jam. I was 2.5 hours away from our house. I just finished seeing a castle and we came to a dead stop, like really quickly. Probably within a mile and a half, I went from going 80 miles per hour to 0. And it was one of the things where I was in between exits, so I couldn't get off the highway. And so I'm just inching, you know, like 1 car length, wait 10 minutes, 1 car length, wait 10 minutes, 1 car. And it was very, very aggravating. Now, it's a 2-lane road, it seems to be the Autobahn. It's like 2 to 4 lanes, depending on where you are. There was no exit for miles. So I was basically stuck moving 1 car length every 10 minutes for 2 hours. And I honestly don't know if it was a car accident or if it was construction, because I saw signs that said construction coming up, but then I saw like a police car go by, and if the two combined, oh my gosh. First of all, I hope the people are okay. But since I don't know, I'm gonna sound really bratty here and said it was really annoying because my 2.5 hour drive took 5 hours to do. And being in a car for 5 hours, first of all, is not what I wanted to do. I thought I had 2.5 hours. I was planning on being home by dinner. That didn't work. So that was really interesting. I ended up getting off the highway and going on the back roads. And then it was fine. You know, I got back on the highway probably 15 miles down and there was no issue. The cars were just whizzing by. So I don't know what it was. Other parts of transportation, flights. There are so many discount airlines in Europe. I was able to fly to Italy for 30 euros round trip. That's like $35. That's crazy. Like, I couldn't believe it. There's so many discount airlines. I use Skyscanner to find cheap flights at the last minute because, you know, sometimes I don't know if I want to travel that weekend, and all of a sudden I'll be like, you know what, let me just see what's out there, and I'll see that there's a cheap flight to Italy, and I'll just buy it. Again, I'm not working right now. I'm lucky enough to be able to be supported by my spouse and his work. So this is my first time without a job ever, but I'm really excited about the possibilities of traveling because I've never had a chance to live in another country before and just learn and explore and have these opportunities. So I'm taking full advantage of it. I did get a job and I'll be starting that in January. So that will be different again, and I'll be teaching. So that's really exciting. I've taught informally, but this is going to be a formal setting. So I'm really excited. This is my exciting, like, happy dance. So cheap flights. Now, the one thing I will say about cheap European flights, especially if you take something like Ryanair, WOW Airlines, Air Berlin, is that be careful about being nickeled in time. Make sure you print a boarding pass. If you don't print a boarding pass, they're going to charge you 15 euros to print it at the airport, which is just crazy. You have to watch your bag size. My pro tip in the United States, for all you Americans, this might apply to Canadians as well, but our small carry-on bags that are soft-sided are fine. Like small ones. Like if you could fit a poodle puppy in there, that's the size you're looking for. Don't bring a roller bag. Especially an American roller bag. European roller bags are different than American roller bags. I had like a small roller bag, like, you know how you buy those sets, the smallest one? Like when you buy a suitcase set of like 4 sizes, and the small one is supposed to be your carry-on. In Germany, it's not a carry-on. That's like a check bag. Europeans are like very conscious about size, and I think the reason for that is there's a lot more people per square inch in general here than there is in the United States. There's not an area like Montana, right? So Montana has a lower density population than Germany does. A lot of people live in Germany, and Germany's the size of Montana, but it has a lot more population. So just keep that in mind. So like when you're flying these airlines, bring a backpack. That's what I used to do. I pack like my old school backpack, like JanSport backpack, and that will take me, like my clothes in there and toiletries, I can get a good like 5-6 days out of it. You know, just plan appropriately, and then what you wear on the airplane, make sure like that's appropriate too. Like your shoes, don't wear like crazy high heels. I'll get to clothing in a second, but like just know that when you fly discount European airlines, you're gonna pay for every little extra thing. You're gonna pay for your soda that you want on the flight. You're gonna pay for that snack. So, and there's not gonna be a lot of room. But if you're only flying 2 hours for 30 euros, I mean like, that's pretty good, because the train would be more expensive, even though the train would be more comfortable with more space. So that's interesting. Let's go to clothing and shopping, because this is where I've made probably my biggest change. And that's because back in the States, I loved wearing bright colors and patterns. I loved wearing hot pink. There's a brand, an East Coast brand called Lily Pulitzer, that I really enjoyed wearing, and I bought a lot of stuff from, especially sundresses. And it's hot pink, it's hot orange, there's these bright baby blues, it's seafoam green. It's like these really vibrant colors, or like very strong pastel colors. And almost, or fuchsia, you know, like Lily Pulitzer, that's a little bit of everything. But in Germany, it doesn't seem to be that type of trend, even in the summer months, to wear those types of colors. What I've noticed, and again, I'm being general because it's only my experience the last 4 months. I am not an expert on living in Europe yet. If you wear those colors out, you will be stared at. Germans don't seem to have a problem with staring. If you stick out by your clothing choice, they will look at you, and they'll just look at you, like they will stare. So they normally wear very practical clothes. I don't see a lot of high heels, especially not stiletto heels, unless it's a special occasion. I haven't found that they're wearing like short skirts or loud colors. Like they don't really stand, I don't want to say they don't stand out, but like they don't go that extra mile that like people from the United States do. Like we want to stand out. They don't seem to have that same ethos when it comes to their clothing. When you go shopping, like they have H&M, they have stores that look like Macy's. You know, it's like your standard boutique clothing, and you know, it's the same stuff I could be able to buy in the United States, but the colors are just different. Well, it's black, white, gray, red, blue. Pastels were popular this summer, but I don't see like really bright, vibrant colors. I don't see bright patterns. If you look at a generation above me, or two above me, probably two above me, they always wear these vests. It's like the German vest. And I think part of that's because in Germany, a lot of people go walking. Like that's it's almost like a sport here. Like if you are in any part of Germany, they're going to be bike paths. They're going, especially in the rural areas, they're going to be walking paths. But in the cities, there are all these bike paths because people are biking all the time. That's a major part of their transportation system. And with that, they're always dressing for the weather, right? Because you don't want to be walking and then caught in a rainstorm. So they have their rain jackets, and they're just very practical people. I think that's why they don't wear high heels. You know, they're going to be wearing like Clarks, or like they wear tennis shoes, but like very streamlined, practical tennis shoes. They're not like, you know, I've got workout ones that are bright pink and black and yellow and blue, and it's like tie-dye. They don't really have that. So I think that's really interesting. With walking, I also love the fact that you can walk up a mountain, and at the top of the mountain, someone told me how to pronounce it, but I've already forgotten. The U with the umlaut over top is a Y, and the E is an A. Huta? They're huts. Okay, they're huts on the top of mountains, and I should just say buildings because they're like houses, and they serve beer and coffee and cake and goulash and sausage. You can get your bratwurst, and you can get actual food there. You can get salads and really anything. And it's a little bit more expensive, but most of the times it's pretty inexpensive too. Like if you get a coffee and cake, it's like €5 to €7. And it's so much fun. So you just, my husband and I, when we went to Liechtenstein, I already said the story, we did this major hike. We did 50 kilometers in 48 hours. That includes sleep, by the way. I was exhausted by the end. And we stayed at a hut, and we just had the best meal there. Probably because I was exhausted and I really wanted to eat. But it was just so wonderful. And there's just this community feeling. People are there playing cards and just having a really good time. We can do that on a smaller level, too. You can do like a day hike and stop for lunch. Like, it's just, I think when it comes to leisure activities, Germans, I think, do it a little bit better than people in America do. Again, my perspective, the last 4 months. Germans, first of all, they have more time off. Like, their stores are open a much shorter period of time. They open at 9, they are closed at 5. There's no question if they're going to stay open late. No. When they close, and the employees leave. When I was working, I wanted to be the first one in the morning and the last one to leave at night. Because I wanted to work hard. I wanted my boss to recognize the fact I was working hard and I was putting in the time to get it done. Like, that was the work ethic that was placed on me when I was growing up. So when I got to Germany and I saw things close immediately and people were getting home by 6. When was the last time you got home at 6 when you worked a full-time job? Let me tell you, I rarely got home at 6 when I was working a full-time job. You know, I was working 60 hours a week, and I know my sister works like 80 hours a week. Like, I'm not saying 60 hours in the United States is a long time, because it's not. Like, there are days and times where my sister worked more than slept. I cannot do what she does, and I really admire her for that. So when I came here to Germany and things closed on Sunday, no one expected to do anything. No stores are open. Grocery stores closed. Clothing stores closed. Only thing that's banks definitely closed. I think that's also like that in the States. The only thing that's going to be open are groceries or restaurants. And the restaurants are going to be closed on Monday. So they take their Sundays very seriously. Oh, bakeries on Sunday, if you want your fresh bread, you better get there early in the morning because they close at like lunchtime. So I thought that was really interesting. I had to learn that my Sundays had to be like relaxed. Like, take a break, Julie. Sit down. Get some coffee. I don't drink coffee. Get a hot chocolate. Sit out on your porch and just chill, because there's nothing to do. Like, if you go to church, and then you hang out with your family and walk. You hike. Like, that's the Sundays here. And now that I've been doing that for 4 months, it's so nice. It's so nice not having the dread of work that day. You know, again, when I was working, I was constantly checking my email. I was constantly on social media because that was part of my job. I was making sure that, like, things were getting followed up on. Like, are you kidding me? Like, I felt like I was never away from work. Now that I don't have a job, of course, I feel very relaxed. But Germans seem to do their relaxing so much better. They're always outside. Like, that's really what they want to be. They want fresh air. They want to be outside. They want to be moving. But it's never, like, super stressful. Now, there is excitement. Obviously, they're big into soccer, aka football. I haven't been to a game yet, but I was walking past a stadium when a game was happening, and they knew how to do it. They were having a really good time. So, yeah, I just think that it's really something that I can learn from. Of course, I was trying to climb the corporate ladder when I was working in the States, and I'm going to take what I've learned here in Germany back with me when I get my next job in the States. So, I was starting with clothing and then I ended with exercise. But I think that's really interesting. Grocery stores in general, since I was already kind of talking about food and them being closed, the food selection is not as vast. I've learned, since kind of traveling around Europe, in the United States, you have so much choice. Like, I got a choice of 2 different types of bananas. I have a choice of like 35 deli meats. I've got a choice of 6 different types of shredded cheese. I've got a choice of a whole aisle of cereal boxes. Like, all that cereal I can have. I can buy. In Germany, you don't have all that choice. Yes, you're gonna have a row of cereal boxes, but guess what? That row is a third of what it is in the States. Like, you want lunch meat? Well, first of all, it's not the same type of lunch meat. You're gonna get like a salami-based style product. It's all kind of a salami-based style product. Just like different amounts of fat. And like they have this weird gelatin thing with like meat inside that's sliced up. I don't know what that's about. I haven't tried it yet. It looks kind of gross, but like people seem to like it here. So, side note. So when you go to the grocery store, you don't have like, they don't have baby carrots. You have to get regular like fresh carrots. And then you just cut them up yourself. Like, you don't have, like, your potatoes, you're gonna have fingerling potatoes, gold potatoes, the bigger ones, and you don't get red potatoes. That's not like a thing here. So, at least not where I'm from, where I'm staying at least, not where I'm from, I'm not from here, but where I'm staying, like, you don't have those choices. Like, you have 2 types of onions, sweet onions and yellow onions. Like, that's what you got. You got big ones, you got little ones, and then you're like, that's it. So, I kind of enjoy that too. I didn't realize having all these choices were so stressful to me. Like, because I didn't want to make the wrong choice, but now if I want to buy onions, I just freaking buy, like, onions. It's a lot different. So, now I will say with that, with shopping in general, I got really nervous doing that. The first time I went to a grocery store, I didn't know you had to bring your own bags. Germany is very stingy with their plastic bags. They actually don't give you plastic bags. You have to buy a reusable bag if you didn't bring your own bag, which I didn't know. So that was interesting because I looked like an idiot. And of course I didn't speak the language, so I looked like doubly an idiot. First of all, I'm trying to buy food, and I don't bring a bag, and I don't understand what the cashier is saying, asking me if I brought a bag. They also don't pack your bag for you. So, like, as they're ringing up, you have to, like, do it as fast as you can, or you have to, like, have a friend help you out, or you just have, like, hope for the best. Because you don't, like, stick around at the end to, like, pack everything. No. Like, get it out to your car as quickly as possible. So I thought that was really interesting, but that was, like, really stressful for me because I felt, like, rushed. And I was trying to know, like, what they were saying to me. So that made me, like, really hesitant to go grocery shopping, which was bad because then we didn't have food for a while. The other thing that made me really cautious about grocery shopping and shopping in general, especially at the beginning, is not everywhere in Germany takes credit cards. Unlike the States, where anywhere you go, pretty much, you just take your credit card. You know, even if you go to a farmer's market, they're going to take the square. Like, that's just how Americans pay for things now. Like, that's the common norm. Not here in Germany. Especially where I am. I'm in a bit more of a rural area, but I'm close to a big city. Cash is king. Like, if you want to go out to a grocery store, you better bring cash because they might not. Especially a new one. I know which ones take credit card now, but some of them don't. If you want to go out to a restaurant, you better believe you bring cash because they're not going to take credit cards. Those huts at the top of the mountains, they don't take credit cards. Like, you better bring cash. And that was something I wasn't used to because I can tell you, I probably didn't carry cash for 2 years in the States. Like, I never needed it. Except like maybe a few quarters in my car to pay for parking once in a while. Like, there was no reason. And actually, where I moved from, I didn't even need quarters because they took credit cards to pay for parking there. So, like street parking, you know, That was also really shocking to me. There were definitely a couple times I got stuck in a store with no cash. And, I had to find the closest ATM, and hopefully it was a good exchange rate because I was paid in US dollars when I lived in the States, obviously, and now my husband's paid in euros, so it's different now. But oh my gosh, it's like you had to make sure. That was also really shocking to me. Like that, I think that I was so embarrassed so many times when I first moved here because since I didn't know the culture, there were things that I missed. Now, if you're in a tourist area, if you're watching this and you're coming to Germany, most places in tourist areas are going to take credit cards. Everywhere I have traveled, which has been touristy, takes credit cards. You don't have to worry about it. But if you're in rural Germany, especially if you're in an area called Bavaria, bring cash. Munich, you're fine. If you go to Oktoberfest, which I went to, they all take credit card. But if you go to like random parts of Bavaria, bring cash. Okay. Language. The German language, people say, is really harsh. I actually find it very musical, and a lot of German words and English words have the same root. So, for example, the Hütte sounds like hut. Like if you see it, H-U with the two dots, which is an umlaut, T-T-E, it looks like the word hut. Hello is hello. Morgen, morning. Like there's so many similarities that if you really pay attention to what someone's saying, you can kind of figure it out. I would say like 20% of the language is very similar or identical to English. Also, if you listen to the radio, like you'll be able to notice a lot of patterns that are similar to English. Internet is internet. Email is email. Like those are all the same words in English and Germany. So I am learning German. I am not great at German. I'm now learning I've learned like colors. I've learned certain foods because I needed them at the grocery store. Pfeffer is pepper. Like things like that are just like are nice things. I've learned, definitely greetings, how to be polite, how to ask, like, where is blank? Like, where can I find dresses? Or where can I find the toilet? All those things I now know how to say. Toiletten, by the way, is toilet. See things? They kind of fall into place. Toiletta is singular, toiletten is plural. Where are the toilets? Where are the toilet? That's a side note. I'm just showing off my German knowledge. I probably speak like a 2-year-old, to be honest with you. The grammar I'm not very good at because they have masculine and feminine nouns, and I've not figured those out yet. So I just kind of like bumble along, and if you try, they're going to respect the fact that you're trying to speak German, and a lot of Germans speak English. I heard that they start learning English at kindergarten. Kindergarten is a German word. Kinder is kid. I learned all sorts of things here. Or child. And as long as you attempt to try German, they're basically going to say, oh, you don't know German? My English is better than your German. And then it'll all be okay. I guess I've learned that traveling all over Europe. Learn your basic phrases. Hello, goodbye, please, thank you, where's the bathroom, or like, where's the bathroom is pretty much the big one. How do you say blank? Do you speak English? Like, learn those phrases in whatever country you're going to, and most people will respect the fact that you are honoring their language. And they'll be a whole lot nicer to you than if you're like, sprechen Sie English? Or you yell at them in English, like, why don't you know English? Because they're German. Like, why would they know English? Most Germans I find are bilingual though. Especially again, in cities, they're going to speak English. In the country areas, they might speak another language depending on where you are. If you're near France, I can bet you they're gonna have to start speaking French. Like just so you know. And they learn other languages too. Sometimes they know Russian, sometimes they know Spanish. But English is the business language of the world. So, if you're American or Canadian from Great Britain, we're lucky because English is a really hard language. But and I'll also say my German has gotten me in trouble a couple of times. because sometimes they can't understand what I'm saying. So just go with it. You know, it's all a learning curve. I've had some shocks. Again, getting stuck in a store without being able to pay for something is super embarrassing. Going the wrong way, finding directions. I now have a GPS, but like at the beginning was challenging because everything is asphalt, and so, which means exit. And I've missed my exit before because I was looking for like a number, you know, like take exit 49 to X, Y, and Z. They don't have that number. You know, they'll just say like, you'll see over the highway, it'll just be like, exit here for X, Y, and Z, 500 meters. And then it'll count down. It'll go like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, asphalt. Well, I didn't know what asphalt meant. I'm such a stupid American. I didn't know that meant exit. So I was just like, wait, do I exit here? Because that's not the name of the town I wanted to go to. Like, is that the name of the town? And then like, I noticed every sign said that. I'm like, that doesn't mean a town name. There's no way that could be the town name. The town would be the entirety of Germany. So yeah, that's what I've learned so far in 4 months. This is a long video, but I do appreciate you watching. If you have any questions for me, please leave them down below. Again, I'm not an expert. If you're from Germany, are these stories funny to you? Like dumb American stories? I'd love to hear your dumb American stories. I think that Americans need to get out more and explore the world, especially here in Germany where it's so much fun. Like beer and sausage is a real thing, especially in the South. Beer is a real thing everywhere. Here in Germany, coffee culture is fantastic. And just, I really am enjoying. I've been able to see a lot more of the world. I've been able to open up my eyes to a lot of historical inaccuracies that I learned as a child, especially in school, which I think is really interesting, and just learning more about people different than me I think is great. So again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. If you enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next one. Thanks.